These are American families who thought they would catch a break this winter, but instead they are facing the highest energy bills in decades while record-breaking cold grips the nation. This is the story of how surging energy prices are emptying wallets across America just when families need warmth the most. If you are struggling to pay your heating bill right now, you are not alone. Nearly 25% of U.S. households cannot afford their energy bills anymore. That is 1 in 4 families choosing between staying warm and buying groceries. And with temperatures plummeting to historic lows this January, that choice has become even more brutal. Let me put this in perspective. The average American household is paying $116 more for electricity in 2025 than it did just 1 year ago. Your monthly electric bill has jumped from about $121 in 2021 to $156 today. That is a 30% increase in just 4 years. But here is what makes this winter particularly devastating. Natural gas prices have exploded by 56% compared to last year. Ken and Carol Apaki, a retired couple from Ohio, have been tracking their electricity bills religiously. In 2020, they paid between 11 and 12 cents per kilowatt hour. Today, they pay 19 cents per kilowatt hour. That is a 60% increase that is crushing their fixed income. They are not outliers, they are the norm. Michelle Lordy from Wyncote, Pennsylvania, puts it bluntly. She says they had $1,000 bills this past winter, $1,000 gas bills in 1 month for heating a suburban home. As she watches construction crews replace old gas lines in her neighborhood, she knows those infrastructure costs will eventually land back on her bill. This isn't just about higher numbers on your utility statement. This is about life and death decisions happening in homes across America. In a recent census survey, nearly 23% of households reported keeping their homes at unsafe temperatures over the past year because they could not afford their energy bills. In Phoenix last year, 138 people died indoors from heat-related causes. 18% of those deaths happened in homes where the air conditioning was working but turned off because families could not afford to run it. So what's driving this crisis? The answer is more complex than politicians want to admit, and it's costing you more than you realize. The biggest culprit isn't the power plants you see in campaign ads. It's the invisible infrastructure carrying electricity to your home. The poles and wires that make up America's electrical grid were built nearly a century ago. Many are literally falling apart. After decades of hurricanes, wildfires, and floods, utilities are finally rebuilding these systems. And guess who's paying for it? You are. Robinson Meyer from Heat Map News explains it this way. It's a cost of climate change. We've had the grid for a long time, and it's time for those systems to be replaced. And unfortunately, they're beginning to be replaced at the same time as we're seeing rising electricity demand for the first time in the US in a generation. But there's another factor driving up your bills that you probably haven't heard about. Data centers, these massive warehouses full of computer servers, are powering everything from Netflix to artificial intelligence, and they are consuming electricity at an unprecedented rate. The numbers are staggering. As a country, we are spending more to get data centers up and running than we spent building the entire interstate highway system, adjusted for inflation. Senator Elizabeth Warren has opened a Senate investigation into whether artificial intelligence data centers are driving up electricity bills. The evidence is mounting. In areas near data centers, wholesale electricity costs are up to 267% more than 5 years ago. That cost gets passed directly to you. In the PJM electricity market, which serves states from Illinois to North Carolina, data centers caused an estimated $9.3 billion increase. The result? Your residential bill is going up by $18 a month in Western Maryland and $16 a month in Ohio. David Spence, a professor at the University of Texas, puts it simply. We're just not able to bring new supply on as quickly as demand is growing, and that is driving prices up. The numbers tell a devastating story. Electricity prices rose 5.1% between September 2024 and September 2025, nearly double the overall inflation rate of 3%. Some states have been hit even harder. Washington, D.C. saw electricity costs jump 23% in 2025. Indiana followed with a 17% increase. Missouri is dealing with a 42% spike since January. Natural gas prices have been even more brutal. The Consumer Price Index for natural gas has surged 10.8% year over year and 54% since 2020. Americans paid $12 billion more for natural gas between January and September 2025 than they did over the same period the year before. With this winter's record cold, those bills are about to get much worse. But here is what really shows how broken this system has become. The structure of your gas bill has completely flipped in the past 40 years. In 1984, about 2/3 of your gas bill paid for the actual gas, and 1/3 covered infrastructure and utility costs. Today, that is reversed. Less than 1/3 of your bill goes to gas, and about 2/3 pays for everything else: the pipes, the maintenance, the profits. The political response has been predictably partisan and largely ineffective. When President Trump took office in January 2025, he declared a state of energy emergency and promised to slash Americans' energy bills. Instead, energy prices rose throughout his first year. His administration laid off the entire staff of the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program on April 1, 2025, cutting help for the 6 million households that rely on LIHEAP to keep their lights on. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act, signed on July 4, 2025, removed clean energy incentives that researchers say will push residential electricity rates up another 6.7% in 2026. President Trump's energy policies seem to be having the opposite effect of what he promised. President Trump's trade representative recently argued that European benchmark natural gas prices have been declining at the same exact time and rate that U.S. prices are increasing. What this means is, American families are subsidizing cheaper gas for Europeans through increased LNG exports. The human cost of these policy failures is mounting. The National Energy Assistance Directors Association estimates that up to 4 million households experienced utility disconnections in 2025, nearly 500,000 more than in 2024. In New York State alone, the disconnection rate rose 5-fold. In California, 1.9 million households had overdue electricity bills in April 2025, and 50,000 households had their service cut off entirely. Mark Wolf, executive director of the National Energy Assistance Directors Association, captures the impossible choices families are making. He says, "Seniors down here that are living check to check, now we gotta decide whether we're going to pay the electric bill or buy medication." The future looks even more challenging. Data centers are projected to consume up to 12% of U.S. electricity by 2028, compared to 4.4% in 2023. One Carnegie Mellon study estimates this could increase the average electricity bill by 8% by 2030, with some high-demand areas seeing increases of 25% or more. So what can you do to protect your wallet? The unfortunate reality is that individual action can only go so far when the entire system is working against you. But there are steps that can help. Since more than half of your utility bill goes to heating and cooling, adjusting your thermostat makes the biggest impact. You can save about 3% on your heating bill for each degree you turn down your thermostat during winter. I know that is a tough sell when it is below zero outside, but every little bit helps. Sealing air leaks around windows and doors can save 10 to 20% on your annual heating and cooling bills. That is up to $166 per year for the average household. LED bulbs throughout your home can save more than $100 annually, and unplugging electronics in standby mode can reduce your bill by 5 to 10%, saving about $100 per year. For bigger investments, solar panels can lower electricity bills by 50 to 90%, though the upfront costs put them out of reach for many families facing this crisis. A professional energy audit could help you identify ways to save 5 to 30% on your bills. If you are struggling to pay your energy bills, help is available, though it is increasingly limited. The Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program can help with heating and cooling bills, though only about 17% of eligible households actually receive assistance. Many states and utilities offer their own assistance programs, but funding is often insufficient to meet demand. The deeper problem requires systemic change. We need massive investment in grid infrastructure, better regulation of utility spending, and policies that prioritize affordability alongside reliability. We need to question whether American families should subsidize data center expansion for tech giants while struggling to heat their own homes. This energy affordability crisis is not an accident. It is the result of decades of policy choices that prioritized corporate profits over family budgets. While politicians debate the future of renewable energy, millions of families are making impossible choices between warmth and food, between electricity and medicine. As you face another brutal winter day with heating bills that seem impossible to pay, remember that you are not alone in this struggle. 1 in 4 American families is fighting the same fight. The solutions exist, but they require the political will to put families before profits, affordability before corporate interests. Until that changes, millions of American families will continue choosing between staying warm and staying fed, while the wealthiest corporations in the world profit from our basic need for energy. That is not the American dream. That is the American energy nightmare. And it is happening in homes across the country right now.